Hi, and welcome to this webinar, How to Get Rewarded at Work Even If Your Boss Makes You Feel Like a Failure. I'm Jo Painter, and I'm delighted to have you here with me today to share some exciting new strategies. So we're going to help you rebuild your confidence and to get the recognition that you really deserve. So let's just jump straight in. This webinar is for you. If you have been on one-to-one meetings with your boss and maybe you've had negative feedback or you've been undermined and you feel like your confidence has really been knocked as a result. It's also for you if you work really hard, you come up with ideas, you do some work and some thinking behind it, but then colleagues or perhaps even your boss are taking the credit. It's also for you if perhaps in team meetings, you do speak up, but when you do, you get interrupted or dismissed or ignored, or you feel like your boss is undermining you and even humiliating you. In those situations, it can really knock your confidence. So this webinar is definitely for you. It's also for you if you found that as a result of the behaviors of your boss and how you feel in your confidence, you've started just to sort of hide yourself away a bit, to isolate yourself because you're so worried about the judgments of your colleagues or your seniors. So instead of being out there with your ideas, you head down in your work. If that's the case, then this training is definitely for you. And perhaps you've already had lots of discussions with your boss. You've talked to your boss maybe about pay rises, about development opportunities, but still, despite all of those discussions, and maybe despite some of the promises, the opportunities and the promotions are going to other colleagues. Now, I'm going to show you how to overcome those situations, but I'm going to do it without telling you how to suck up to your boss, maybe, or schmooze your boss, because I know how creepy and false that can feel. So I'm not going to be asking you to do that. And I'm not going to be suggesting that you spend even more time taking qualifications or doing further courses, because generally, if you're at the level you are now, you've probably got all the qualifications you need. And yes, it might build your confidence a bit and having some more expertise. But actually, most companies don't really care about how many more qualifications you've got. They need to see other things. That's what's happening in the workplace at the moment. Things are changing, and having lots of more qualifications isn't what's necessary to get your career progression. I'm also not going to ask you to change your personality. I'm not going to expect you to be out there shouting about your successes. I know how uncomfortable that can feel, and it can make you feel like you're being judged as maybe arrogant or even pushy. And I don't want that for you. Nor do I want you to have to work even longer hours. You know, there's a belief out there that if you work longer and keep on proving yourself, you will get that progression. But that absolutely isn't necessary. You can get the visibility and the progression without putting in further hours. And why do this? Well, can you imagine a situation when you've been to a team meeting and this time, instead of being dismissed or overlooked, your ideas have been really listened to. People have taken action on them. How are you going to feel then if your boss is really listening to you? You're going to feel a mile high. You're going to feel really valued and recognized. And that's what you deserve. And then you can go home rather than having a moan about how unfair it is and why has this person got that and why has this other person got a pay rise and they don't deliver as well as you, etc., etc. They're not as competent as you. Instead of going home and overthinking all of this and maybe moaning to your partner or your family, instead of that, you can actually be really present with them and you can spend time with them on the things that you enjoy. It also means that rather than weekends spent checking up emails or preparing yourself for the following week, which I know is something that I'm liable to do, instead of that, you can actually switch off your laptop on a Friday night, keep it switched off all weekend without feeling guilty when you turn it on Monday morning. Because when you feel like you're valued and recognized for yourself and for your work, then you don't need to do that. So who else is this for? Well, this training is for you as well. If you're somebody who really feels you get dismissed in meetings, You may have heard of the butterfly effect sometimes, when somebody puts an idea out in a meeting and it lands flat on the table like a caterpillar. And then somebody else in the meeting later picks up the idea and says it again, and it flies like a butterfly. So if that happens to you, or you just generally get dismissed and not listened to, then this training is definitely for you. Or maybe you're sort of halfway through your career at this point and you're feeling a bit anxious about having to continue working in this negative workplace with a boss who really doesn't value you. And that's beginning to knock your confidence. And the thought about another 20 years of working through that is really getting you down. Then this training is definitely for you. Or perhaps you are in a really bad position where colleagues or your boss is making you feel stupid in front of other people. They're undermining you, or passive aggressive rolling of the eyes, etc. If you're in that situation, then definitely listen to the rest of this webinar. Or perhaps like many career women, you're just absolutely exhausted from trying to balance your workload and what's happening at home and just trying to keep everybody happy and progress. If that's what you're doing then, and it's very common amongst a lot of career women, then please do stay with me to the end of the webinar. You may even have tried being honest already with your boss. I know a couple of my clients have definitely had that conversation about feeling like their confidence is being knocked, that their boss is being very negative, and that they're not getting the opportunities they need. But it's actually backfired for them, either in terms of the relationship being made even worse, or that their boss just doesn't do anything different. So if you've tried that, I totally get it. But there are other ways in which you can improve your relationship with your boss. Maybe you've tried reading self-development books. I know I have a whole stack of them, and some of them are fantastic, full with great ideas. And particularly this one, I have to say, which is all about feeling good enough. A Career Woman's Guide to Courage, Confidence and Credibility, full of great ideas. But I know that some people can find it really hard to apply those consistently and get a change. And I know a lot of you have probably been on leadership courses. You've done that training, but you've found that it's too broad brush for you. It's not giving you exactly what you need. And that's why it hasn't worked for you. So it's not your fault that these things haven't worked for you. Maybe you've even tried faking it till you make it. Perhaps you've been pushing yourself to speak up in situations where you feel quite uncomfortable. I know a lot of people have tried that, and for some it works, but for others it can just feel really false and uncomfortable. Or maybe for some of you, you've even tried working with a professional coach or counselor or a mentor, hoping that that will build your confidence and help you get a promotion. But for a lot of people, it just makes no difference. And that's because maybe it's not the right person, or they aren't specialized enough to help you with that situation. But here's my question for you. So has your search for an end to that feeling of being a failure and of looking for the recognition that you deserve meant that you're actually working harder and you're having less time for you? Is that what's happening for you? Well, let me introduce you to Helen. Helen's a client of mine. Well, she was a client of mine, sorry. She's a lawyer who works for a London firm, and she wanted to move on to being a senior partner. But Helen had feedback from her boss, which was quite negative, that she needed to really sharpen her elbows. Not the most helpful piece of advice, but it meant that Helen started to realize actually she was being too much of a nice girl at work. She was people pleasing, and she was not speaking up about what her beliefs and opinions were. She was generally being more nice and polite. And she recognized that this actually wasn't working for her in her career progression. So when I worked with her, I actually discovered that she was not just being a people pleaser, but she would also avoid conflict. She would allow her senior partners to speak up for client meetings because they had more knowledge, they had more experience, so she would defer to them. And all of these things were not only stopping her career progression, but eating away at her confidence as well. So I worked with her on building her confidence up and on being able to communicate assertively about what she wanted or about her opinions. And Helen has now gone on to be a senior partner with a lead role in her expertise area. So it's a fantastic result for her. So moving on, my promise to you for this video. Well, I'm going to show you exactly how you can stop feeling like a failure, how you can stop worrying what others think about you or how they're judging you, or having the credit taken for your work. And I'm going to tell you how to do that without having to smooze your boss, without having to arrogantly say, aren't I wonderful and this is why, or without having to keep on proving yourself by doing more and more hours and working even harder. And as a result of that, you know, you're going to have extra time and you're going to get the career progression so you can spend time with your family without that constant negative thinking because you feel you're not valued and recognized. So how are we going to do this? Well, just before we move on to that, I wanted to say to you that I have nothing for sale on this webinar. I know you're probably wondering about that, but there is going to be absolutely no high pressure sales whatsoever at the end of this. But I will say that if you stay until the end, I do have a gift for you. Some free training, as I mentioned before, my bonus free training. And that is on 3 quick fixes that will have you sounding confident, whoever you're talking to. So these are really good tips that you can use to make sure that you sound more assertive and that people are taking you as demonstrating confidence. They're part of my actual paying program that I use with my paying clients, but you're going to get them free today if you stay to the end of the webinar. Oh, whoops, gone one too far. So I'm also going to be sharing with you one new strategy that I've used with my clients when they're in the position because they worry too much about what their boss thinks, maybe because the boss has been, negative towards them, maybe the boss overlooks them, or maybe their boss is making them feel that they're not delivering a good job. And I've used this strategy with clients who are in that position and to stop them constantly worrying about that, because when you're in a state of constant worrying, it's going to affect your performance. It's going to affect your confidence and how you speak up. So you need to get into a calmer place before you can even start to prove to your boss what you can deliver. Oops. And this is especially important if you're somebody who's really just trying to get on with the job. Because if you just get on with the job and don't become visible and don't let your boss know what you're achieving, what happens is you get overlooked. And as you get overlooked, it takes you into that downward spiral of feeling invisible. So just getting on with the job doesn't work for you. And if that's what you've tried, then you've been told wrongly. You need to do more than just get on and deliver a good job. So I know when I was in my corporate career and I was struggling with my confidence and visibility, and I worked for a couple of bosses that I didn't find helpful, and one of them was particularly negative, and I would talk to my family and friends about it. And yes, they would listen, and yes, they would maybe suggest a couple of things, but some of them would just dismiss my problems, and none of the ideas they came up with were particularly helpful because, they weren't experts in that. So if you've tried speaking to family and friends, that's probably why it's not worked for you. Or maybe you've even tried doing online programs. I know there's a lot of those sorts of programs about now, particularly with everybody working from home more, etc. There's a lot of online stuff out there. I have my own program. But if you've tried these online programs, maybe they haven't worked for you. Again, it's about how do you apply them and apply them consistently. So it's not about you or that you're not good enough at doing this and putting these ideas into place. It is really difficult when you've got nobody there that you're accountable to. And that can make you think, well, I've tried books, I've tried courses, I've tried online programs, I've tried talking to people, and still nothing's working. It can make you feel like people are actually lying to you. They're giving you wrong ideas. They're giving you things that don't work. And I can absolutely understand that. But it really isn't your fault. And I'm going to explain to you why everything that you've been told so far that you think is going to make things better for you is actually making it worse. And I'm going to explain to you why in this current workplace and the way the workplace is changing, that it's not going to work for you. These things aren't appropriate now for today's workplace and the way things are changing. And I'm not just talking about COVID or hybrid working. I'm talking about all the things that employers need from their employees now to get that career progression. We're talking about visibility and leadership skills and having a strong network. All of these things are becoming more and more important. And if you don't want to be left behind in your career, you really are going to have to think about this and take action. So before we get into this, I just want to say briefly about myself and my career a bit. So I was originally a pharmacist. I had a 17-year corporate career, which is very successful. However, at the start and middle of my career, I did still have challenges around confidence in terms of believing in my abilities and in being able to share that with other people. I found that really difficult to do. And I had to find a way to be able to build my confidence and to be able to talk about my successes and make sure that I got noticed. And I did find a way, but it was a lot of hard work, a lot of research, and it took me a long time to get there. So it was a pretty hard journey for me, but I wanted to do it. It was important to me that I did it without wasting precious time doing loads and loads of networking events to sort of build my visibility without having to really sound arrogant and talking about how wonderful I was. Because probably like everybody, I know somebody that is like that I've worked with before that really does push themselves. And it's not comfortable, is it? It doesn't sound good. I also wanted to do it without having to change my personality. I still wanted to be me, and I wanted to get the career progression for being me, but I had to find a way that did it and suited me. And I also wanted to do it without taking credit from my team. Again, I'm sure you've heard people that always talk about what they've done and what they've delivered and never give recognition to the team. So there has to be a balance between those two. So let me tell you about Kay. Kay, again, is a client of mine. And Kay, when I started working with her, she was working really long hours. She was traveling a lot and she had worked, was really working very hard. And she was just returned from work after having had time off with burnout and stress. And she was concerned that, she was going to get ill again. So I worked with her and recognized very quickly that her challenges were a lot around her perfectionism. That need to deliver to a really high standard, which sort of drove the long hours and the hard work. And that she didn't feel that she was good enough as she was. She was always having to push herself further. So we worked on that, on some practical strategies for her perfectionism. We worked on how she could value herself. And since then, she's moved organization and she's got a new role and she's in line for a promotion. And she's done that while still not getting burnt out and still having time for her family. And she did say to me that without the mindset change and without the new skills that she's learned, she would have gone off sick again. She would have been stressed. And having gone off sick again, she may never have returned to work. So she's done fantastically well to achieve that. So from this, let me tell you that if you've tried working harder to prove yourself and to get your boss on board with you, to try and get them to believe in your abilities, it really doesn't work. And it really doesn't work. You're probably seeing that over and over again, that just proving yourself isn't enough, because you've probably seen the people who get promoted are the people who talk the talk, and they'll get that promotion before you. And if you've tried training courses that haven't worked, that's because they're not personalized to you. And as I said before, if you've done these broad brush leadership courses, they aren't specific to you, to your challenges, to your personality, to your limiting beliefs, to the situation that you're in. And you've got nobody there afterwards checking that you're being able to apply what you've learned in a consistent way and how to build on it. That's why training courses haven't got you the changes that you've been looking for. And as I said before, if you've tried pushing yourself to speak up, the old fake it till you make it really doesn't work either, because you aren't being yourself. You're not being authentic. And the problem with that is it doesn't feel comfortable to you, but also other people pick up on the vibes that you're not being authentic, and it doesn't feel comfortable to them either. And if you want to build trust in relationships, if you want your boss to believe in you, then you've got to be authentic as well. And also, if you've tried pleasing others, the workplace culture has changed, as I've said, and it is changing very rapidly. And people pleasing is really one of the big things that is going to hold you back. Because whilst you spend the time pleasing others, you're getting an increased workload because you're not saying no. You're not doing the things that you believe are right. People aren't hearing your opinions and ideas. And as a result, you might be delivering well and people might like you, but are you building your visibility and relationships with the right people? No, because you're focused on making sure people like you. That's why it's not working in today's culture. So, as I said, I went about building my career the hard way by trying lots and lots of different ways of trying to build my confidence and my visibility and getting it wrong. So fortunately for you, I can tell you the easy way because I've been through it the difficult way. And what I found from the clients that I've worked with and the clients that I've researched over the last 14 years is there's a couple of key mindset mistakes that they make. The first one is expecting the recognition to come to you. If you think that I've been in this job for 5 years now, I've delivered well, people are pleased with the work, but I've not got the progression, but it's due to me because I've been there for 5 years and I've worked really hard, it's not going to happen. There isn't a certain length of time of experience anymore that will get you to the next level. That type of hierarchy of roles, the next step and the next step that I remember in the early years of my career isn't there anymore. It's not just about how long you've been there, your experience and knowledge. It's about more than that. So if you just expect that recognition to come for you, you sit there and wait, it really isn't going to work for you. You really need to focus on other areas like your visibility. The second mindset mistake is wanting to be liked and pleasing others. And as I said before, it just ends up increasing your workload. And you end up with your head down, delivering lots of work and not being seen. Now, you might find that people really like you, and you might mean that you avoid conflict, which most of us don't enjoy. But not only do you avoid conflict, you also avoid the opportunity to build respect and recognition. And those are really important in your career progression. So it's now time to put boundaries in place and to think about yourself and your career first. So once I'd spent my years building my own career progression, I then started working with other clients and researching what successful senior career women do that gives them the career success. And I developed this one process that really fixes every problem that my clients have who were searching for career progression and fulfillment. And because of that, because that one process that I developed from years of research and working with clients, they were finally able to do what they knew was right and not worry what others think. So they trusted their own decisions. They spoke up for their opinions. They were visible and they did what they knew was right in their career. And as a result of that, they got the same opportunities and recognition as their peers. So they were feeling valued, they were feeling recognized, all the things that you want from your boss. They were also able to stand up for themselves in discussions and conflict. So no longer was their focus on pleasing others. Instead, they had their boundaries in place. And they were truly able to believe in their abilities, to believe in their confidence, and to value themselves. And that really is one of the most important things. And the one process that I developed is this, the career transformation process. And I can tell you, there is absolutely nothing like this out there anywhere, because I've done a lot of research on programs that are out there, and there really is nothing like this. And the reason why is because it's built on 14 plus years of research that I've done with successful career women, and with working with hundreds of career women to get them that progression and success as well. So I'm going to share it with you today. And these are the 3 simple steps you need to take. So step 1 is about removing those mindset blocks. So we've talked about a couple of them already, and I'm going to share some more with you now. So in terms of your boss's behavior, what I would do is I would take one of my templates. I have several different templates for different types of boss's behavior. They all generally fall into certain behavioral patterns. And I would find the exact template that matches your boss's behavior, which is making you doubt yourself and feel like you're a failure because of their behavior. And I would use that to help you manage their behavior. You can't change their behavior, but you can learn strategies to be able to manage it, to protect yourself and protect your confidence and self-worth, but also to thrive and manage their behavior. So there are practical strategies you can put in place to do that. And having understood your boss and having started to manage their behavior, you can then focus on your own mindset blocks and your own thinking patterns, and which ones of those are actually causing your self-doubts. And from my experience of working with clients, there are 2 key ones. There are quite a few different mindset patterns that don't help, but these 2 particular ones come up regularly for me with my clients. The first one is perfectionism. Now, you may think, well, I'm not a perfectionist. You know, my house doesn't look perfect. I don't deliver everything to 100% with T's crossed and I's dotted. But perfectionism isn't about being perfect, being 100%. Perfectionism is about having the need to try and achieve 100%. And that's why it feels so exhausting and there's so much pressure on you, because you are trying to achieve the unachievable and you can only fail. And interestingly, a lot of clients who are perfectionists will say to me, well, it's driven me to where I am in my career. And it may possibly have helped. But research from the University of Florida has shown that actually perfectionists and non-perfectionists are exactly the same in their performance. They both achieve to the same level, but non-perfectionists don't take so long, because they're not being held back by the stress of trying to achieve 100%. And because they're not procrastinating like perfectionists do. Perfectionists tend to put off starting something because they're worried about failing or not doing it as well as they want. So if you are a perfectionist and you feel like it's driving your results, question yourself again. You can still achieve those results without the stress and the pressure and the procrastination. So it's that research that led me to develop my Excellence Over Perfectionism guide, which is a practical guide of strategies to help you achieve excellence rather than perfection. And when you aim for excellence, it's still a really high standard, but it is a growth mindset of wanting to achieve more and develop, rather than perfection, which is a fixed mindset of its success or its failure. So having those strategies are going to enable you to challenge your perfectionism and to find strategies to overcome it. The other mindset block that I see in a lot of my clients is what I call nice girl conditioning. And what that means is that in childhood, girls are often conditioned by society, by school, by parents to be nice girls. And this was shown in some research by Stanford University. And what it meant is that they were taught that the way they should behave is to work hard, get good results, to be polite, to be humble and modest, to put others first, to not upset people, etc. And the result of that in schools brought about some good results in exams, etc. But it meant that in the workplace, they resulted in behaviors which didn't help their career progression. And think back to the client I mentioned earlier, Helen, who was my lawyer, who was told to sharpen her elbows and lose her nice girl. She had exactly that conditioning. And I used with her my 10 rules that empowered her to stand her ground and stick to her boundaries. So recognizing that she had the right to have these rules in place and that she was respecting herself as much as the other person, and that was okay, she could do that. And she has those in place, and you can have those rules in place too and overcome your nice girl conditioning if it's holding you back. So why would you want to overcome these mindset blocks? Well, it gives you the ability to make the choice to go or to stay in your job, knowing you've tried everything. So you've tried to manage your boss's behavior as best you can. You can't change it, but you've tried to manage it and do what you can to protect yourself. You've overcome your mindset blocks, and that means that your behaviors and confidence will have changed. So now you can decide, do I want to stay in this job knowing my boss's behavior will continue, but having overcome lots of my own blocks? Or do I want to change job to another role, knowing that I've done all I could? And that's so much better than just resenting staying stuck or jumping ship and running away. And the good news is you can still do it by delivering a high standard, but you don't have to work those long, hard hours that you do because you feel everything's got to be perfect. And it means you'll have more time for you. And you can use that for your own me time, for family time, or to further develop your career. So that's step one. Step two of the process then is about speaking with impact and authority. Now, this is really important, particularly the higher you go up in your career. You need to have that gravitas and impact and authority to ensure that you are taken seriously and to ensure that your boss sees you as somebody confident and somebody with the ability to go further. And one of the key communication skills that I work with my clients on is assertiveness. Assertiveness is about speaking up for what your opinion is or for what you need and doing it in a way that respects yourself and the other person. And that means then that you can maintain the relationship with the other person, which is really important in the workplace. So to help with this, I have a very simple structure that can be used in any situation to enable you to speak assertively for what you need. And the types of situation you might use it in, for example, are when I talked about earlier, colleagues or your boss taking credit for your work. You can raise that with the person either at the time or later, and you can do that using the structure in an assertive way. Or perhaps you want to disagree with your boss's boss. You want to challenge them on some opinion, and you can do that with the assertive structure. Or perhaps you want to talk to your boss and raise with them the issue of them making you feel like you're failing at the job and you're not getting the same opportunities. Again, the same assertive structure will work for that. The second area that I see most of my clients struggling with is speaking up in meetings, or speaking up in meetings in a way that isn't impactful. And this is all about having some strategies to enable you to speak up in a way that gets you heard and listened to. Now, you may have heard of Eric Berne and the transactional analysis method, which is part of modern psychology. And in it, Eric Berne said that in all our interactions with other people, we fall into a dynamic around parent, adult, or child. And interestingly, that dynamic can change according to the person you're talking to and the situation that you're in. So with many women, it's about situations where they can't speak up in meetings because there are lots of senior people there and they feel worried that what they say isn't going to be right, or that they may get challenged. And often they therefore fall into a parent-child dynamic where they feel inferior to the other person. And what ideally they want to be in is the adult-to-adult dynamic. And I've used this method as part of the strategies that I developed to help women to have that impact in meetings, to have the confidence to speak up and share their authority, and to do it in a way that means the relationships are maintained and that they're seen as being confident and good ideas. And that means then that they can leave the meeting knowing they've been heard and their ideas have been acted on. So if you have challenges about speaking up in a way that either comes across as too direct or aggressive or doesn't get heard at all, then you've probably also maybe got some challenges around presentations, interviews, or one-to-ones with seniors. So I have some very quick fix tips to help you with that, to ensure that you can manage the nerves and can feel confident going into these presentations or interviews. And one of the examples is around body language. If you haven't seen the infamous Amy Cuddy TED Talk, then do Google it and have a look. It's a great example. And in it, it talks about how having a positive, strong body language not only puts the confident message over to other people in the presentation or the interview, but also feeds back to you to make you feel more confident. So why have more impact and authority? Well, it means, for example, you're going to get credit for your ideas. Your boss is therefore going to see you in a different perception because they're seeing you demonstrate confidence and demonstrate great ideas. The other right people will have you on their radar. They'll notice you in these meetings and think, yeah, great contribution, they're great ideas. And that's going to do wonders for your career progression. It also means instead of holding back and trying to be 100% right before you speak up, you've got the confidence instead to speak up with ideas that aren't fully formed yet. And it means that you won't dread those presentations and interviews as much. So step 3, the final step in my process, is all about getting noticed and promoted. Because it's great to have the confidence in your mindset. It's great to be able to speak up with impact and authority. But if your boss is still not seeing your potential and you aren't visible to the people that matter, you're still not going to get the recognition you want. So I have developed 10 easy ways you can raise your visibility and get recognized in a really collaborative way. So not in a way that sounds arrogant or pushy, in a way that is authentically you. And there are some very simple strategies you can use. For example, perhaps you finished a project and you decide to email it to email colleagues and some of your seniors about the results of the project and the learnings that you've had from it that could be useful to other people. So you've helped other people and been collaborative, but you've also got out there the message that you've had a successful project and why. So simple strategies like that are really easy to use to ensure that you get visibility, but don't sound arrogant or pushy. So raising your visibility is really important. And I think it's really important that you make part of your job your visibility mindset. It's not enough just to think once a month, maybe, oh, maybe I should do something to raise my visibility. You need to plan it into your working week. You need to change your mindset so that how am I going to make myself visible? How am I going to show my boss that actually I have got potential and that the things I am doing, they need to start recognizing me for. So you've now raised your visibility. Are you ready for that pay rise or promotion? Well, I have a unique checklist which identifies whether you're ready to ask for that pay rise or promotion. And so thinking about things like, do I have a strong network? What's my market value in terms of my salary? What's my latest appraisal been like? All of those things you need to think about before determining whether now is the right time to ask for a pay rise or promotion. So why do this visibility and promotion? Well, as I've said many times in this webinar, working harder or longer hours won't get you noticed and promoted. And your work definitely does not speak for itself. You need to speak for it too. And if you aren't visible, what's going to happen is your peers will be, and they'll be the ones getting the promotion. So it's really important. And the other thing is, it's not all about promotion. Visibility also gets you to hear more about the business, to build more knowledge and expertise, gives you opportunities to be on different projects and to build enjoyable relationships with other people. So you're not doing it just for the sake of your career. It has so many other benefits too. So that is the steps of my career transformation process. First of all, remove your mindset blocks. So blocks around managing your boss and around your own thinking patterns. Speak up with impact and authority. Be assertive and speak up in meetings and interviews and presentations. And step 3, get noticed and promoted. Make yourself visible, share your successes, and check whether you're ready to ask for that pay rise or promotion. So, wow, I've gone through a lot for you there today. So if those steps feel like a lot of work, absolutely, I have seen hundreds of clients achieve success with them. So don't worry about them. And not every step and every bit of every step applies to everybody. So choose the ones that are most important to you. And you can do it without having to spend hours of work doing the hard work, because I have done it for you. And all you have to do is follow my steps. So put away all the time you spent working longer and longer hours, and instead use that time to follow my simple steps to get your recognition. Because when you put them together, you'll be able to stop being exhausted from all those long hours, and you're going to finally get the recognition from your boss that you deserve. And that will help you relax at weekends by switching off that laptop. It'll help you get great feedback at last from your boss. And it'll help you have money, say, to go on holiday with your pay rise. And maybe you want to go to Mexico, lie on the beach in Mexico and have a fabulous time. And you can do all of that in under 60 days. And I know that because I have seen clients do it. Hundreds of clients achieve it. So my question to you is, do you want to continue to spend the most amount of time and energy and make the least amount of progress? Or, oh, sorry, I've skipped one. Or do you want to spend the least amount of time and energy and make the most amount of progress? That's what you need to ask yourself. Because I hear from women continuously reasons why they don't want to put themselves out there and follow this process. Such as, well, I've been in my career for such a long time. If I was going to get a promotion, I would have done by now. I'm overlooked, it's not going to happen. Or such as, I haven't got time to do all this, I've got too much work to do. Or, I'm just not sure I'm confident enough to go for a promotion anyway. So maybe I'll just stay where I am in my comfort zone. But no, if you can commit to the process, to making this work, you can get that recognition. And you can stop having stressful, bad days where you're made to feel a failure. Because I know my career women clients have used exactly this system, and they've stopped working those crazy hours and being overlooked. And they've got to skip out of the office having had great feedback from their boss. Oh, and this is me on Sky TV, where I was talking about the work that I do and the process that I use. So think about this. So how many days out of the last 30 have you spent time worrying about your boss's judgment of you, feeling overlooked, worrying about the fact that you feel like a failure and that you're not getting the recognition you deserve? And instead, how many days out the last 30 should you have spent time being present with your friends and family? or using time in the day to build relationships with the right people at work and increase your visibility. And spending time on your own development and the parts of the job that you actually do love doing. So let's think of an example here. So imagine in the last 30 days, you've spent 15 of them worrying and overthinking, feeling exhausted from overworking, and feeling down and like you're failing. But you should, on those 15 days, instead have been living them feeling valued and that your work is actually recognized. The difference is obviously 15 days that you should or could have been living your life with that pay rise and the promotion. And if we extrapolate that, that means 180 days over the last 12 months, or 5 years out of the next 10 were being wasted because you're feeling overlooked and like a failure. And it's all because you didn't have the right career transformation process to follow. And think about this. How much money have you wasted on courses or self-development books or podcasts that just haven't worked for you? £500, maybe even £1,000. And how much money, more importantly, haven't you made in the time you've been stuck in your current job? Now, could you have made £5,000 more if you'd had that pay rise and promotion a few years before? £10,000 before more? Because I know myself, I left tens of thousands of pounds on the table because I didn't get promoted when I deserved it, because I didn't believe in myself and I didn't have this process to help me get recognized. And I also lost years of my life. So how much money and time is it actually costing you not getting that promotion and pay rise using this career transformation process that I've just told you about? And I have the solution for you. And yes, there is absolutely a solution, and it's an easy way solution too. Are you still hoping that this problem will go away by yourself? Your boss will leave, you'll change job, you'll suddenly get the recognition you deserve. Somebody will suddenly see what you've done and pluck you out of your job and promote you to the next one. That's not going to happen. You're banging your head against a brick wall there. And when I was in that position, I asked myself a simple question. If the process that I'm using now has got me stuck where I am and feeling overlooked, then what do I need to do? I need to find a new process so I can get to sit on a beach on holiday in Mexico, all paid for by my pay rise. And here's how you can start fixing that today. I have a window of opportunity for you, because I'd like to give you the opportunity to leverage everything that I've learned through the process of wasting my time and my money in solutions that just didn't work, of having done everything the wrong way and learning the hard way how hard it is to do this, and of personally having that career success for me and paying for the family holiday. And believe me, the beaches in Mexico are beautiful. And I've also helped hundreds of women to do exactly the same. So I'd like to set up with you 100% completely free how to get noticed and promoted using the career transformation process call. Yes, it's a completely no-cost call with me. And on that call, I'm going to personally, not with my team, personally put together a complete plan for you so that you can stop feeling like a failure and stop feeling undervalued at last. And I'm also going to tell you how you can use that customized plan to fast track yourself right to the career fulfillment you dream of. And you're going to leave that call with the exact system that my hundreds of clients have used to get their promotions and their pay rises. But let me tell you, because you're probably worried, it's not a sales pitch call. There is absolutely no high pressure sale on it at all. So here is as high pressure as my pitch gets that will happen at the end of the call after you've got your customized plan. I will then ask you if you would like my coaching help to implement that plan. And you can simply answer yes or no. However, I will say I only do bring on 5 new clients every month. So there is the chance that I won't be offering you the coaching program if I feel we're not the right fit, because I need to ensure that everybody I help gets that promotion and the recognition or whatever they want from their career going forward using my career transformation process. Oh, and just before I forget, just to say that as we're nearly at the end of the webinar, I will be sending you out your free training, the bonus I talked about, this 3 quick fixes that will have you sounding confident whoever you're talking to. So that will be emailed to you in the next few hours as you've almost stayed to the end of the webinar. So the best thing that can happen to you on this call is that you absolutely love the plan that I create for you, and you decide you want to become a client. And all I can say to you is that taking this call is the single most important thing that you can do right now to get yourself noticed and promoted, to get the recognition, to make sure you no longer feel like a failure and that your boss and your seniors recognize your ability. This is the most important thing you can do right now. So commit to yourself, commit that you want to get out of that place where you feel stuck and overlooked to a place where you feel like you're deserving of the recognition and you get the promotion if that's what you're wanting. So all you have to do to book your call is to click the button that should have appeared below this webinar now. That will take you straight to my online calendar and you can book your no-cost call there. Or if not, you can go to speakwithjo.com. Just type into your browser www.speakwithjo.com. And again, you'll go straight to my online calendar where you can book your no-cost call. And as I've said, that is the single most important thing you can do to commit to yourself right now that I'm going to make a change. I am going to get myself out of this position to the recognition I deserve. And finally, let me tell you about Anne, who was another client of mine. Anne works in financial services and she had worked part-time while she had her children. Once they left to go to university, she decided she wanted to progress a career and to work full-time. But then suddenly all the self-sabotage, lack of confidence came up. She worried that why would people listen to her? You know, she was somebody that worked part-time and hadn't been quite so involved in the business before. She wasn't sure about her expertise or why people would listen to her. So we worked together on all her self-sabotaging behaviors and also on raising her visibility and how she communicates. And I'm really pleased to say, I heard in the last few weeks, she's now head of a department. And I can honestly say that she has absolutely got the career that can just fly from now. She has been a huge success. And I'm sure you can have that career success too with the transformation process. So go to, in your browser, click the button below or go to speakwithjo.com and you can book onto my calendar and get yourself this career call. You know, I talk to lots of clients, I talk to lots of women on the phone, and these similar sorts of challenges keep coming up, that people are still expecting to have the recognition and the rewards coming to them. And they're still sticking in a job where their boss is really making them feel overlooked or sidelined, that they're not being recognized for their potential. And that makes them withdraw. You know, a lot of women withdraw when they feel like that. They start to think, actually, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not confident enough. And then that knocks their confidence and they start to spiral down into that feeling of not, not valuing themselves, and that's what I don't want for so many of you. I don't want you to go down that spiral feeling that you haven't got the abilities to do more when you do have. I want you to have that choice to either stay in the job that you're in because you have overcome the challenges of your mindset and you're managing your boss, or to make the confident choice that having changed your own behaviors, you're going to go and look for a new role somewhere else. I want you to have that choice. But to do that, you've got to commit to change, because confidence in change doesn't come until you commit. Once you've committed to a change, you get the courage to make that change. Once you've got the courage to make that change, you then have the confidence to go and do it. And that's when the confidence starts to build. So if you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not sure that I can do this, I'm not sure that I can actually do the next level job, or I'm not sure that I actually deserve any more recognition, commit to changing, commit to making that change for yourself, and the confidence in yourself will come. It's not the other way around. You have to commit first. So the commitment that I'm asking for today is to commit to the call with me. Have that plan. You can take that plan away. I'll have talked to you about how you can use that plan to be able to make changes in your confidence in your career. And that's when your confidence builds. So I suppose the big message from this whole webinar I'd like you to take away is that you've got to be proactive. If you want things to change, you're going to have to change. We all know the old saying, that it's the person who keeps doing the same thing that will never get the change. If you continue to do things the same way, you'll get the same result. So please think about this today and commit to something for yourself. I suggest that commitment is to that single most important thing is to commitment to a call, to get some help, but commit to do something to make a change in your career, because you have so much more to give. You have so much more potential. And I really want that for you. So I hope you found this webinar helpful. Hopefully I'll be speaking to you soon, but if not, do keep in touch and do keep listening. I'll be putting lots more content and training out there. It's been great to speak to you, and hopefully I'll speak to you again soon. Thanks.